Hello, I'm Gabby Johnson, one of the team's Make History players and the other stage manager for today's production. I am also a senior at Parkway North High School. We will soon start our Q&A. If you're watching at home and have questions, please put them in the chat. And now let me take a moment to thank everyone watching. Continuing to create theater during a pandemic has been a challenge, and no play is complete without an audience. Thank you for joining us. Let me now introduce our wonderful cast.
Hey, I'm Max Blatter. I'm a senior at Crossroads College Prep, and I played Oakley.
Hi, I am Ginger Ramirez. I am a junior at Marquette High School, and I play Phoenix.
Hi, I'm Alexia Anastasia. I'm a junior at Lindbergh High School, and I played Noe.
Hi, I'm Marisha. I am a senior at Parkway West High School, and I was the other stage manager for this production. One of our other actors, James Harris, who played Micah, is currently experiencing some technical difficulties and not on. But I think here he comes. Or no.
Made for Gabby some technical difficulties.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm back now. Did we introduce ourselves?
Yes, we did.
Okay, if we've done that, remember, if you're watching at home and have questions, add them in the chat. Let me start with the question for everyone. How different was doing this Zoom play than doing a live play in the museum? Thumbs up for very different, thumbs down for pretty much the same, and thumbs in the middle for somewhere in between. So it seems like our experiences were somewhere in the middle. Now, Alexia, how is it different from than when you perform in the galleries or on a stage?
When we were performing at the museum, we had the chance to meet with people and connect with them before and after. And also we had to focus more on our blocking and what we were doing with our whole bodies. And now it's a lot of playing with the camera and focusing on our diction and our facial expressions. And also we have to connect more with people virtually and through comments instead of face-to-face.
Yeah. Ginger, what was the rehearsal process like?
Well, we started out just reading through the script, trying to get familiar with the characters, but as it went on, we, as Alexia was saying, added more personality to them through facial expressions, blocking, and tone of voice until we got to the point where we are today.
Yeah, exactly. And Max, how did it feel to play a character with very different values or opinions than you have in real life?
Yeah, acting as a character is about like finding the emotion in them and kind of using that to bring out whatever their narrative is. And I think that's kind of ultimately the same whether the character is a person that I like or in this case a person that I do not particularly like. It is a little bit more difficult though because that element of being able to kind of connect to the character does help to bring out that in them.
Yeah, exactly. And long before we ever started rehearsing, we had to research and decide which stories to include in our plays. Alexia, what was the process like when you were deciding which stories to tell? Were there stories that you really wanted to include that just didn't fit?
So before we ever thought of any of the characters, we took time to research what has happened this past year with COVID and exposing systemic and the Black Lives Matter protests. And so we saw a lot of narratives and stories of people that we thought we could include. And so we tried to add them into multiple characters and make them emotional and in multiple stories and as many as possible, but we to just add the most relevant ones so that the script resonate with the audience and stay universal.
Yes. So we had lots of stories from lots of sources, but we still had to write a play. Max, can you describe what your writing process usually looks like? Did you have to change it? And was it different from was it different since you're working remotely?
Yeah, so we do a collaborative process either way, with small groups writing the first draft of each scene, and then we go through phases of editing. But the collaboration does end up feeling a bit different. It can be a little bit less immediate, and it can also feel a little bit more closed off. But I think that it has its own advantages too.
Yes, and Ginger, what changed between the first and the final draft?
Well, pretty much everything. What the almost all of the lines are different from what they originally were, as well as we had certain scenes in the first draft that didn't make it to the final draft, and there are new scenes in the final draft that weren't in the first draft. Very different.
Yeah. All right. I'd love to open this up to everyone watching. How does this play mirror your experiences of the pandemic? How is it different if you're watching, please share your answers in the chat. And while they're typing, Ginger, can you share how your experience with the pandemic was similar or different from what was in the play?
Sure. Um, like my character, I have lost family to the virus. So so that did make it easier to relate to my character's struggles. Like losing family to the virus, it causes like sadness, but also anger because, like, that their death probably could have been prevented if better action had been taken. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Ginger. And now, Courtney from Facebook asks, what would you say is some of the main ideas you want the audience to get out of this?
I think I can answer this one. So I think a big focus for this particular episode was grief, and we wanted to just look at how different people deal with grief and the grief that they're experiencing now. We had 3 characters that had very different experiences and reactions right now. So we had the character of Micah, who had lost his uncle to police brutality, and how he was kind of dealing with that. We had Phoenix, who had lost her grandmother to COVID, and we also had Noe, who while she hadn't had experienced a physical loss, was dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety during this time. And I think just recognizing that everybody right now, everybody's kind of struggling and suffering, and is maybe in different ways, but just looking at that. And also, it's very important. One of our very important points, as you can see through the story of Oakley, is please stay inside, wear a mask, don't go to parties, just for, everybody's own personal good. It looks like we lost Gabby due to some technical issues, but so our next question is from Julia on Facebook, and says that I know that you all research, write, perform, and do all the technical behind the scenes work to make this happen. Do each of you have a favorite part of the process? Is it a different favorite on stage versus Zoom?
Yeah, I can start with answering this one. I think my favorite part of the process is pretty consistently the writing part. I've always really liked that as like a kind of element of because the acting of the story is obviously very important to theater, but I just feel like it all kind of starts with the writing, and that's kind of the backbone of what we do. So I've always enjoyed that, and I think I enjoy that the same now as I did when we were doing that in person.
I'm definitely
Yes.
gonna say I think both online and in person. I prefer the rehearsal process more. It's fun to like actually finally get out there and get to work with the character and all of that. I don't know about everybody else. Ginger, what's your favorite part?
I also did really like the writing because, like, this was the first time, even though I've acted in plays here before, it was the first time I got to participate in the writing process, researching. Like, I like seeing all the different stories and experiences that people have had over the course of the past few months.
Alexia, how about you?
I think I sort of enjoy the researching part. You get to see all the real life stories and combine them and try to nitpick parts you think are relevant to the narrative you're trying to give.
All right, it looks like we have time for one more question, and that is Jen from YouTube, who asked, what is it like working on these pieces with everything happening in our world? I guess I can say that, like, working on these pieces with just everything going on, I think we have the responsibility right now as just teens, and also just as people, as citizens, as historians, people who work in a history museum. It is like our responsibility really to kind of help educate people and help share people's experiences. And so that was like definitely something that was like on the forefront of our mind the whole time working on this piece. I see Max nodding his head. So that's kind of what it was like for me, just like feeling, okay, I have a responsibility to make sure that I'm helping teach people, I'm helping people to learn.
Yeah, and just to kind of add to that, it's a lot more kind of immediate than a lot of things we get to do because we're often writing about things that happened like a ways in the past and stuff. So it just feels more just real and immediate too than a lot of the things we get to write about, and the technical aspects of how we had to work on this and stuff all just kind of added to that feeling of it seeming more immediate.
So our last question is from Lindsay on Facebook, and she says, you are all dealing with some really complex issues. Are there times when you don't always agree with each other? How do you work through that? We definitely don't always agree with each other. We obviously are all teenagers. We're all in high school. We all live in St. Louis, but as you know, St. Louis is a very diverse area, and everybody has different experiences and backgrounds. And so there's definitely times when like maybe we kind of will clash heads, but I think we all work together pretty well and are able to kind of just work through our differences and work through areas where we don't agree and like find compromises. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
Yeah, I think even if sometimes we differ politically or opinions on anything, we're pretty mature about it. We can discuss things without getting heated. I think mostly, though, we agree that like we're not, none of us are to like no masks, like COVID is stream in any way, so we usually come to compromise at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think an important thing and something we had talked about kind of at the beginning of our writing process and at the beginning of our character development is looking at like personal truth. And I think that comes out more when we're writing more historical pieces and not something we're living in, but like, okay, so what I may experience and how I may look at things is different based on my experience than how like Ginger would look at things, or how Max would look at things, or how Alexia or Gabby would look at things. And that's kind of like another thing, just recognizing that everybody has a different personal truth that's true to them. Everybody has different values, and it's important to kind of respect those in a way. All right, so I'd like to thank everybody for sticking around for the Q&A. Thank you for coming to our show today. Join us next week at the same time for episode 3, But What Can I Do? And check out the Missouri Historical Society website to find out other upcoming virtual programs. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.